Thanks for tuning in to Tuskegee Renaissance.
Open your mind.
This is where history speaks, wisdom guides, and progress flourishes. From the legacies that built this town to the innovations shaping its future, we honor the past while advancing full speed ahead.
We should live our dreams.
Let's dive into the stories,
I say everybody.
the vision, and the brilliance of Tuskegee then and now.
Do not what you want to
We're sitting with Dr. Ronald McDowell, a visionary whose talent knows no bounds. Originally from California, in the 1980s he made Tuskegee one of the places where he has a home, and he has since artistically spread his legacy everywhere. From monumental murals to soulful sculptures, Dr. McDowell's work captures our stories with beauty and power. He is without question a modern day Renaissance artist.
Well, I think that term, modern day Renaissance artist, I don't take it lightly. I take it as an honor that people see me in that light, that I'm recording contemporary art, meaning art of today. And through my eyes and through my hands, I'm creating what I see to preserve it for future people of all nations and all nationalities to see what we look like during this time and period in my lifetime. And what Michelangelo and Da Vinci, all the way to Picasso, and now the neo artist Jean-Michel Basquiat, his work reflects his time and the people that he was around and the things that touched his heart and the things that inspired him. A Renaissance artist is an artist who records the times and the events that are going on at the time. Like recently, President Obama included one of my art pieces honoring this 50th anniversary of the Selma to Montgomery March in his presidential library. And I've been doing things since I was 11 months old, things that affected me, whether they were good or bad. They affected me, and I was able to put them on paper.
But say
So,
that again, just in case somebody missed it. You've been doing your thing in the art realm since when?
since I was 11 months old,
You did
my
say 11 months.
11 months. My mother told me before she passed that I wasn't even walking yet, and she saw that I was just compelled, or just, it was like a child wanting candy. You know, I wanted to draw. I must have been showing signs that I wanted to draw like my father and my two older brothers. They would draw in the afternoons and the evenings when they came in from work from the steel mill, and they would draw on clear pieces of white paper that were in the beginning of the Bible. And they would draw me westerns on horseback, and they would draw the cowboys with the cowboy hats on. And as a baby, I can remember them looking alive to me, and I wanted to be able to do that.
And your talent progressed as you began to, evolve.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know that I was an artist. I didn't know that that's what it was called at that young age. It was just something that God blessed me to do. I feel like God plays a part in my life. That is something that He gave me this talent for something that He wants me to do to reach people. I don't know. I just feel that I haven't reached my potential yet. I haven't reached the things that I'm put here to do yet.
So you were a child prodigy, and then you became a toddler and, an elementary school student, and you said your teachers would assign the whole class work to do. Your work that you submitted to fulfill these assignments, I would believe, was beyond anything that your classmates, your peers were doing. So how did the teachers and the neighborhood children, how did they respond to the fact that you were so far ahead of everyone in your community? And by the way, you were raised, I think, in a housing project in Pittsburgh, California, correct?
Correct. Yes. When I was in kindergarten, the teacher asked us, the whole classroom, Miss Briggs, she was a black teacher, real long hair to her waistline. Miss Frances Briggs. She first saw my talent. She asked the kids in the classroom to draw something made of steel, and I could think of the most kids are trying to draw iron boards, poles, etc., things made out of steel. And I drew three little kids walking between the two yellow marks, um, and the big safety patrol at the time. The fifth and sixth graders were safety patrols, and they had this big steel pole. It was red with bright round pole, red with white letters that said "stop," and they stopped the traffic from running us over while we walked through the crosswalks. So I drew the whole scene, and it won the contest in this statewide contest. And the prize was I got a bunch of paper, bunch of crayons, and art supplies, and I shared it with about 15 or 20 kids in our neighborhood. And the kids, after they went through all the paper, they just started jumping on me, trying to beat me up in a way like kids do. It may have been playful, but they didn't, I don't think they understood. They kind of turned on me.
Did that happen a lot to you that people would, as you just put it, turn on you and be cruel to you? Like, what kind of things did you endure as a child?
Um, I kind of endured a lot of verbal abuse, physical abuse. I just don't think the kids understood that I was one of those little um, innocent kids at the time that just wanted everybody in the world to love me and and I loved everybody. I think that the kids that turned on me, they didn't know why either. We were all just kids. We're 5, 6 years old. I don't know if it was jealousy or what, and it still happens. It still happens today. Not just me, but I'm sure it happens to anybody that's trying to do something different in the world. People don't understand difference.
Did you channel your pain into your purpose? And I guess I should rephrase the question to ask how the acts of cruelty or torment that you experienced, how did it affect your work?
Well, ironically, when things would happen, like if I got a bad beating for doing something I didn't know I was doing wrong, but if I got a beating or if the teachers beat me in school on my hands for drawing or whatever, I would just go back to the desk crying and just draw anyway. They couldn't stop me. But it made me feel like as a child, I didn't understand it. I thought something was wrong with me at one point, that I didn't deserve to live or I didn't deserve to be around anybody. That's why I started hiding from people and became very introverted and wouldn't talk to people at one point. Even speaking, the teacher put me in the slow class because they thought I was kind of retarded. But it was from the abuse, the reason why I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to say anything that would offend anybody or that would get me in trouble. So I just stopped talking for a while.
And all that happened because you were talented and misunderstood. Was there a time when you retreated to under your bed for your artwork? And why did you do that? And what were you doing at that time?
In fact, I was drawing pictures of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, the Looney Tunes that were famous then. I was drawing pictures. I really like girls. So I really started drawing, just trying to create faces and stuff. It was after my brother Lonnie taught me to draw a nose and a mouth from the side view. And I could always draw from the front view. I couldn't do profiles. And I would just cry. My mother finally asked Lonnie, she demanded that he teach me to draw a profile for her. But how did it make me feel when I had to sneak under the bed to draw in the dark? Because my mother at one point thought I was abnormal. She thought something was wrong. She'd always say, "Why can't you go outside and play with the other kids? It's beautiful outside. Everybody outside playing, you in it drawing. Get out of this house drawing." So I had to sneak back in the house, hide under the bed, and grab some whatever piece of paper I could get, a paper off a paper bag or toilet paper or anything I could draw on that had a little space on it. And I would just draw under the bed, just happily. I would go into my own little world, Karen, and just start creating stuff. And it was mostly girls that I created.
Let's fast forward in your journey to when you left Pittsburgh. You first landed in San Francisco, if I'm correct,
Yes.
and eventually you migrated to Los Angeles, and you pick up the story from there.
Well, when I went to Los Angeles at 17, because my mother said she had a rule that you couldn't leave home unless you graduated. And she said I couldn't leave home when I graduated. I graduated before my birthday, before I turned 18. But my father said, well, he wants to be grown, so let him go. So she let me go. And I ended up into the, as I call it, um, in heaven, which was Motown. And I ended up working with one of my number one entertainers that I really liked his music and his entertainment, Michael Jackson. And from there, I started doing a lot of work with Michael, doing a lot of work for a lot of the producers in Motown, you name it, Norman Whitfield, Clay McMurray. Got a chance to meet Barrett Strong. I got a chance to meet all the Temptations except for David. Got a chance to meet the Supremes, including Diana Ross. Florence Ballard was deceased at the time. I didn't get a chance to meet her. But making a long story and getting to the point, I left Motown with the Stars, and just by chance, my surrogate family that adopted me, Chester McAfee, who was from Montgomery and knew about Tuskegee, he said, we're going on a trip, son, and we'll see when we get back in 2 or 3 weeks. So I said, y'all not leaving me this time. You guys been going every year, and I would love to go to Alabama. So I jumped in the station wagon in the back seat with all the car full of kids. There's about 10 of us, 11 of us all together. And I rode to Tuskegee. And because I only had the clothes in my bag. I didn't bring my checkbook, bank book, or nothing at that time. I just didn't want them to leave me. And so about a week in the visit, everybody ran out of money. So I he suggested I go to Tuskegee and see if I can sell some artwork. So I went to Tuskegee, and just fortunately, Mayor Johnny Ford was in his office. Diane Robinson, who was over the art department, she asked me to do. I told her I could do a show. So she Russo Minifield was actually filming a bunch of kids in a circle, and he was filming them about something. So they asked me to come in, and I told them I would like to draw for the kids. So they set up an easel and a, piece of drawing board and gave me some marking pens, and I drew for the kids, and the kids went crazy, and they asked me to come back. Then I got a call from a Miss Barbara Danner who heard about me and saw me on TV, asked me to come back and do some work for her Macon County Arts Manifesto, and that began my work with her, and she got me to do the artwork for the state Alabama Music Hall of Fame, and I did all the portraits for them. And then other things came along from Alabama with Mayor Arrington, and in Atlanta with the SCLC, Dr. Lowry and Evelyn Lowry, and things just started happening with the Negro League. A lot of stuff happened in Alabama for me. I had no idea that Black people were so creative and had done so many inventions, and from Booker T. Washington, Dr. Carver, learning about Lewis Adams in Tuskegee, Rosa Parks born there, Zora Neale Hurston on off of um,
Notasulga.
Notasulga, but she was born off of over like a highway in that direction. And it was just so many people from the Tuskegee Airmen, Chief Anderson, that I befriended. It became like a godfather to me. Colonel Herbert
Carter.
um, Carter and his wife Mildred both loved my work. I did pieces for them. And generals that come in and out, the Tuskegee Airmen Airport, Tuskegee Airport, will come and commission pieces. Their wives will commission pieces, sculptures and stuff. The work that I did in Alabama after leaving Hollywood for so many years, I think the work in Alabama has played a more important part because I learned a lot about Black people in Tuskegee, all the famous people from attorney Fred Gray, who's still my attorney and friend, to Mayor Johnny Ford, who's one of the first Black mayors, doing portraits of Chief Sheriff Lucius Amerson, and doing all of the sheriffs in Tuskegee, and doing all of the presidents at Tuskegee University. It's just been an honor. I get more excited when people ask me to commission me to do their work than they can ever be about commissioning me. I'm just honored in the fact that people from all walks of life, whether they're famous or just an everyday person, I'm always honored and glad, like a little kid, when somebody say, "Can you draw me? Or how much would you charge me to do a portrait or a sculpture?" To me, that's the highest compliment. That's to me, that's an honor.
You've mentioned Mayor Arrington, who was mayor of Birmingham, and the work that you did for him. Can you please, you actually did the work for the city of Birmingham while Mayor Arrington was in office, and the pieces that you've done have become iconic. Can you tell us about that first statue?
Oh boy. Well, the first statue I did was the foot soldier, honoring the children that marched with Dr. King in 1963. And I had never done a statue before. I'd done a little bit of clay sculptures as a kid. I hadn't touched anything since I was in college. But when he trusted me with the doing the artwork, I was just honored to be a part of the foot soldiers and the civil rights movement in Birmingham, which paved the way for not just artists, but paved the way for Black people all over the world. You know, I was just honored that Mayor Arrington trusted me like he did. And whenever I get the opportunity to speak with him, and recently I did, I had to let him know, that he's one of my heroes. You know, just the fact that, like Michael Jackson, he trusted me and knew that I had something to offer and that I could illustrate and honor the civil rights movement and through my art and the way that I would interpret it.
So describe that particular work of art, the sculpture of the foot soldiers. What does it communicate? What did you capture when you did that statue?
What I captured was a moment in time. I captured the brutality, the unrest, the unjust, the Jim Crow laws that were prevalent at the time, the way that um, people or white people in general, the way they treated Black people. Coming up from California, I had no idea that that was going on. You know, even though I was born during that time, I didn't know that they were doing that to children. Why would a police officer put dogs on a teenager, on a kid? And I have to be able to portray that. See, what the public don't understand, that we artists are like actors. When you give us a subject matter or you give us something to do, a piece of artwork that you want us to create or illustrate for you, me, I don't know about a lot of other artists, but me myself, I become every single scratch, doodle, scribble, from the first line to the completed project. I'm into that particular subject. I'm into that person. I'm looking at you now, Karen, with your beautiful face and your beautiful hair. And I would have to become you in order to make it look like you to you. And I have proof of that when Mrs. Coretta Scott King told me that I was the only artist out of all the pictures she's seen of Martin. She said, "You're the only artist that painted Martin the way I saw him." So I love this piece, and she hung it in the Kingston. I think it's still hanging there today, but it was a painting called The Moods of Martin. And getting back to your question, I have to really, if I can't feel the subject, if I can't feel what I'm doing, I could spend 10 years and never get it right if I don't feel it. If I feel it instantly, like the things I did on Prince, which Prince really liked, I did one of the paintings that he really loved in 30 minutes, a painting of him. And because I felt him, I was listening to Purple Rain in 1999 and his music, and I became Prince while I was doing it.
Well, today your talent is celebrated, and you have painted or sculpted celebrities, people who are well known, as well as ordinary people. So your talent is unlimited. Let's just agree to that. Do you have a favorite piece of work that you've created?
Well, I never thought I would see this, but I'm honored that President Obama chose my piece from Selma to Montgomery that I did for Mayor Evans back in 2015. I'm just honored that he included it in its new presidential library. To me, that's I don't have a favorite piece, but I am honored now because I have so much respect for him that it just gave me a new, like a light just went on in my in my life again. He doesn't know it. I don't know it personally, but he brought a light back into me. In fact, I just did this piece that I'm working on. It's it's 7.5, 8 inches by 3 feet. The final statue will be 8 feet.
There are a lot of details I see in that maquette. Uh, I see how you have, made his clothing look realistic, his hair and his eyes, and
And see, the thing I've learned one thing about me, even this after all these years, Karen, I can't do something unless I'm totally peaceful now. I used to work under distress, under pressure, under if I was in pain, if somebody said something that hurt my feelings, I would just turn it into my artwork. But now I see I have to be 100% focused on what I'm doing.
how do you, Dr. Ronald McDowell, mentor young creatives, especially Black artists who may not see themselves reflected in mainstream spaces? What do you tell them about building a career as an artist?
First, you have to have the desire, the passion. And in order to be successful, it's not always about the money, because the money will come once you do good work. Once people see that you have something to offer. So what I tell them is that you first have to have the passion. You have to realize that all gifts, to me, this is my personal point on it, comes from God, because God was the first artist. And in order to be successful, you have to do what your clients want. The days are gone when artists can just paint a portrait like Picasso would paint a picture of a woman, and her head is on the ground and her arms in the air, and it's all combined, which he borrowed or copied from the Benin tribe when he visited Benin when he was a young man. African people always interpret the life of a person in one piece, in the sculptures and the paintings and stuff, and they term that abstract art. But I tell my students and people, and even the adults that I teach, even the seniors that I teach, if you want to be successful in art, you have to do. So a lot of times, you have to just do what the public wants you to do, and you have to satisfy them. We become creative sometimes and create images like I've done, like my abstract art and my impressionistic art. I impressionism. I try to sometimes I just create stuff and everybody likes it. So you have to have a pulse of your finger, like with entertainers and singers. They have to know what the public want to hear, even if they're creating themselves. So you have to kind of have a be in touch with people. That's the key to success. Just being in touch with your environment and being in touch with people.
Originally from California, you have made a name for yourself in Alabama. Your work is seen throughout this country and around the world. You are an acclaimed artist. So let's talk about legacy. When the brush is finally laid down, how do you want to be remembered? Not just as an artist, but as a Black man who dared to create across generations and genres.
How do I want to be perceived? I just want people to know that I loved people. I loved everybody, no matter what race, color, creed, whether you were handicapped, whether you were on drugs, whether you were alcoholic, bisexual, transgender. I love everybody. If I'm doing a show and I got 1,000 people there, if I got 100 people there, if one person showed up, which has happened in the past when I first started out, one or two people, maybe 10 people at the most would show up at my art shows. I felt good because I affected somebody. Somebody was interested in what I was doing. And that's what I want my legacy to reflect. I want to be able to tell, I want my artwork to touch people.
You're a very humble man, Dr. Ronald McDowell. Very easy to love your artwork and your personality. So
Thank you.
thank you. No, thank you for blessing the world with beautiful artwork that will stand the test of time. When we're long gone, people will still be marveling at your artwork. You'll still be around just like those classic artists are, and people will say your name with reverence. You're probably too humble to comment on that, but how does it feel knowing that you've left such an incredible mark on this world?
It's funny you should ask that question. My mother, I was telling a group of people the other day in Sacramento when I did the artwork on the Thriller project with Michael on the album and stuff. I ended up on the cover right on magazine, which at the time sold 6.5 million copies in 1983. And that was the first thing that ever sold of a million. And I was told this by the editor, Cynthia Harner at the time. But my mother's friend called one of our childhood aunties, and she said, Dean, my mother's name was Willa Dean. They called her Dean. They said, Dean, you got to be so proud of your son. Look how famous he's become. Look at all the great work he's doing. My mama said he better get his and then wash them dishes, like I told him. So we stay humble, Karen, because of our parents.
Dr. McDowell, thank you for joining us on Tuskegee Renaissance. I can't thank you enough. I can't even think of the right words to say for you blessing us with your time and your memories and even the new statue that you've done. So we're actually going to break a little news here on this podcast.
Remember, together we shine.